Direct message. Tom Pike. Reading time 25 minutes. Tom Pike is a writer and climate activist living in Appalachia who briefly served as the human ambassador to the Abokans. The preceding story is verifiably true. We saw the hat. The Twitter account @AbokanEmbassy appeared suddenly one day, as they do, and no one thought anything of it. Its contents in the early weeks were a jumbled mess of word salad. Tooth friend, 23 March 2021. Found help, found crepe, found, 29 March 2021. H, to April 2021. Its display name was Abokan Embassy Empire Imperial Eboka Earth Embassy. Its location was given as Big Spaceship. Its biography was an emoji of a banana. None of this was out of the norm for weird Twitter. I discovered the account after it tweeted, "Sometimes do you ever sometimes go bean," on 7 April 2021. It never went viral, but it began to collect a few oddball followers who were delighted by its nonsense. I engaged with the account regularly, applying a yes-and mentality to it like it was a game of improv. They said they were on a big spaceship, and I played along. "How does your ship travel faster than light?" I tweeted at them one day. "Very fast spaceship," they replied. "What kind of fuel do its engines use?" "Everything, Tom." As time passed, the grammar of the account began to improve. This disappointed some of us, but there were still some gems, like a tweet on 20 April that said selfie and did not contain an image, or 15 May's plem hose. They also replied, with apparent sincerity, to every tweet sent their way. That delighted me. And so, when it tweeted least favorite region, you want destroyed by heat ray, on 1 June, including a poll, none of us suspected the tweet might represent a sincere desire to communicate. Appalachia won the poll resoundingly. I am, broadly speaking, Appalachian. My hometown is just outside Pittsburgh, a city sometimes referred to as the Paris of Appalachia, using an analogy that stuffs multitudes of classist and elitist connotations into 3 simple words. Some locals love the phrase because it compares Pittsburgh to Paris. Some hate it because it acknowledges the reality that we are in Appalachia. I prefer to think of Pittsburgh as Pittsburgh. It is not Paris in an Appalachian setting. It is a unique Midwestern Rust Belt city that happens to be located geographically in Appalachia. Pittsburghers do not generally think of themselves as Appalachian, but in more ways than one, we are. I found an abandoned coal mine with my friends when I was a teenager, and we used to break in and hang out there. The town next over from me is called Export because they used to export coal. Like naming a pet duck, Duck, which my childhood neighbors did. I guess that is just a thing Appalachian neighbors do. I am fond of this place. I did not vote to destroy Appalachia. Of course, I would not have thought it mattered if I had. I thought the whole thing was a joke. We all did. After the poll, the account, which had posted daily for months, suddenly went dormant. Step back for a moment and remember what it felt like in quarantine. I know, we all like to block that. In the most remote isolation I'd ever experienced, I had made a friend out of a stranger on Twitter. They had always been kind to me, and I missed them. If they stopped tweeting, I had no way to reach them. I did not know their real name, their location, or anything about them. If they vanished, they took with themselves the connection we'd had. I did not want that to happen. I tweeted at them, "Hey, what's up?" A couple hours later, to my relief, came a reply, "Preparing heat ray." Maybe this was a hook for an alternate reality game. Back in 2012, I ran an ARG. ARGs are incredible storytelling vehicles. When you let players choose the path forward, you end up with the story they've built for themselves. But typically, in an ARG, there's a clear next step, another puzzle, a link, a set of geographic coordinates, a call to action. Here, there was nothing. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do with this. Best just to ask them. I slid into their DMs. "Hey," I said. "Hello," came the reply. "How's the weather?" I asked. "Solar radiation plem." "That sounds rough," I sympathized. "It is okay, Tom." "So," I said, "what's the story with this heat ray?" A couple hours passed. I got nervous that maybe they might not respond. But then, "Destroy Appalachia," came the reply. "Why destroy Appalachia?" I asked. We did a poll. They showed perfect commitment to the bit. The central principle of alternate reality games is TINAG, an acronym that means this is not a game. The game master never admits that they're making it up. Part of the fun is halfway believing it's happening. "Who are you?" I asked. "Ebokan Embassy." "Who are the Ebokans?" "We are from Eboka." "Where's that?" "Up." "You are from outer space?" I asked. "No," they responded. "You are." Fair enough. "What constellation is Eboka in?" I asked. Hours went by with no reply. "Hello?" I asked. Still no response. A few days passed. I forgot about the Ebokan heat ray. I got distracted by a computer hardware problem and other more immediate personal concerns than an ARG. Then, while doom-scrolling at 4 a.m., I came across another tweet from @Ebokan Embassy. "Goodbye," it said. This is when I started to suspect something might be wrong. If this were an ARG, the situation would escalate gradually. You wouldn't go straight from a quest hook to the story climax. And you wouldn't pick this as a story event because people could look out the window, see Appalachia hadn't been destroyed, and it would break the principles of TINAG. You're not supposed to need suspension of disbelief to play ARGs. Players aren't supposed to have to imagine Appalachia is gone. The game masters would actually have to make it disappear. Quarantine did strange things to us all. As someone who strictly observed quarantine, I saw few other humans during my sequestration indoors. I had detailed conversations with my cat and the tomato plants in my garden, even though they did not participate. A noisy hot water pipe convinced me for a month that my basement storeroom was haunted. I created a new pseudo-religious ritual for myself, where I wrote boons or curses onto scraps of paper and threw them into the hot embers of my grill. Maybe I had just become disconnected from reality. But I asked myself, what would it look like if aliens made contact? Wouldn't it be easiest to piggyback off of Earth's existing communication infrastructure rather than physically landing? Wouldn't we see a gradual acclimation to the language chosen? In this case, English? I had nothing better to do than investigate. "Hello," I said to them by DM. "Goodbye," they replied. "When will the heat ray be ready?" I asked. "Ready for test now." "Okay, maybe you can help me," I said. "I have a problem with ants in my backyard. Can you test the heat ray on their anthill?" "Yes. Please send coordinates and report results." "Okay. I want to make sure you're only going to target the anthill. The target is 3 inches in diameter. Can you narrow the band to that specification?" "Yes. Please send coordinates and report results." Many suburban children have, at some point, turned a magnifying glass on an anthill. It is a cruel but common pastime. And, since ants are not sentient and do not speak English, they cannot object. The comparison is often made that we would have as much trouble communicating with advanced aliens as ants would have communicating with us. I suppose that is where I got my inspiration. But if I'd truly believed the heat ray was real, I might not have given them the coordinates of a real anthill. "Okay," I said, enclosing the coordinates of an anthill in my backyard. I have also placed red Solo cups bottom up around it in a circle, so you can visually confirm its location. Solo cup, they responded, and then there was nothing. I sat, sweating nervously, glancing out my window at the yard. No beam of light descended from the heavens. No flash of heat washed over me. No reply came. "Hello?" I asked. No response. It was not until I took the kitchen compost out that evening that I saw the hole. It was a perfect circle, 3 inches in diameter. The ground around it, which was soft planting soil, was undisturbed. Nobody had stepped on it to make the hole. The Solo cups had not budged. Their rims were pristine. The heat had not touched them. I shined my phone light down the hole. I could not see the bottom. I dropped an apple core down. I did not hear it strike the floor. I sat down in the grass, my compost bowl forgotten. My heart stammered. I looked up at the sky. It was a quiet, clear day with a few clouds, streaked with the peaceful gradients of sunset. Bats flitted through the sky, squeaking, aiming for mosquitoes. There was no sign of an alien spacecraft looming overhead. I stumbled inside, barely containing a panic attack. Hands shaking, I yanked open drawers on my workbench. One of them spilled onto the basement floor. Hammers and screwdrivers clanged against the concrete. I pulled open another drawer, and another. Finally, I found my methane detector. You see, my hometown is the site of the first commercial methane well in the country. It is here that extractive fossil fuel capitalism was invented, after a pair of entrepreneurs saw a homeless man cooking a meal in a skillet off of a flame that emerged from the ground, without using any wood. Thus, in the late 19th century, the Haymaker gas well was born. Later it would catch fire and burn for months without end. It could not be extinguished. The flames rose so high they could be seen from Pittsburgh, 20 miles away. There is a gas well on the city seal, and even in that romanticized image, it is on fire. I dusted off the methane detector and ran back to the hole. It found none. No methane seeping up through the hole. I breathed a sigh of relief, but my heart kept hammering in my skull. I had gotten lucky. Some of the gas reserves here have been tapped, but there are still plenty of seams down there that are regularly exploited by fracking. A heat ray that can vaporize the soil would have ignited any methane it came across. I plugged the entrance to the hole with cement. I worked by porch light until it was done. I took a long shower in an attempt to relax. I went through my therapist's checklist for panic attacks. There are many mindfulness tricks a person can use, but they all basically boil down to this. Remind yourself that you are going to be okay. Remind yourself that you are being unreasonable. But I wasn't. There was a heat ray aimed at Appalachia, and absolutely no one would believe me. Anyone I showed the hole would think I had somehow dug it myself. I returned to my computer to find a litany of messages from the Abokans. Hello. Please report results. Solo Cup. Report results of test. I thought about telling them the test had failed, and the heat ray would not work. But what if that resulted in them increasing the magnitude of the beam? And what if my silence caused them to repeat the test, maybe somewhere with a gas reserve? Test successful, I said. 3-inch diameter hole. How deep? I don't know. Send picture. I filled it with cement. Why? I didn't want to risk a methane leak. Send picture. They were starting to annoy me. I sent them a picture of the concrete plug. That is not a hole, they said. I know, I said. It's concrete. I plugged the hole. Phlegm, they said. They seemed upset that I had ruined their test. So I reminded them, the test worked perfectly. I am sorry I did not take a picture of the hole before I plugged it. It is okay, Tom, they said. It felt weird to be relieved about being forgiven for plugging a hole by aliens who were planning to vaporize me with a heat ray. but I was in fact relieved. "Why are you going to use a heat ray?" I asked. This was really the million-dollar question. "We did a poll," they said. "Yes, I know, but why did you do the poll?" 25 million innocents have to die. 25 million. The entire population of Appalachia. Quick Googling revealed that each of the regions they'd included in their poll had a population of 25 million. Why? Because there are 25 million people in Appalachia. It was like talking to a murderous parrot. Why do 25 million need to die? There was another silence, and I thought I'd lost them again. But then the reply came. There was a war. Gravixweld attacked Eboka in a surprise. 25 million innocents died. The war ended in status quo ante bellum. No change of territory, no change of government, no thing gained or lost except the honor of Gravixweld, who killed 25 million innocents for no reason. Peace talks are concluded. Eboka agreed to kill 25 million innocents to even the score. Neither nation controls moral high ground. Normal relations can resume. I read their message over and over again. Why are you even telling me this? I asked. We are trying to make this as painless as possible for you, they said. Did they think Twitter was our government? Did they think a Twitter poll with 18 responses spoke for the sentiments of all humans? Did they think I was some kind of official ambassador? I asked them these questions, and they only responded with phlegm. How long until you fire the heat ray? I asked. Soon, they responded. I considered packing a bag and fleeing for Philadelphia, but concluded I would rather die. My place was here, at the keyboard, trying to save my home. Coal from Appalachia powered America out of the Great Depression. Steel from Pittsburgh crushed the Nazis. The American labor movement was born here. The region may be dying, and it may be a punching bag to the rest of the country, but it is more than people think. It can be redeemed. It must be a part of the future. Appalachia is more than a sacrifice zone, and the world cannot survive without it. There are 10.4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves under Appalachia, I said. If you burn an Appalachian-shaped hole in the earth, you will ignite all of that. The explosion will destroy the surrounding region, sending debris into the sky. It will clog the atmosphere with ash, like after a massive volcano. The dust will block sunlight needed for agriculture. There will be a famine, and we will not be able to rebuild with a massive hole in our electric and transportation grids. They did not say anything. Even if you could do this cleanly without burning the methane, releasing that much methane unburnt would send it all into the atmosphere. It's between 25 and 82 times as bad for the climate as carbon dioxide. Releasing that much methane will doom our planet. You will kill far more than 25 million people. They said simply, "You are not helping." I didn't know what to say. They continued, "This is a difficult decision, and you are not helping. We did a poll." This gave me hope. The Ebokans did not want to do this. They were trying to do it in the least disruptive possible way. Why don't you just tell Gravixweld that you did this, and then not actually do it? They will check. They will demand a picture. They would not accept a picture of concrete. They would declare war again? Yes, Tom. The debt must be evened out. The debt had to be evened out. 25 million innocents had to die. Does it matter who kills them? I asked. Silence. I said, on Earth, sometimes a friend will offer to cover their friend's debt. What if we assumed your debt and killed 25 million innocents on our own? You would do that? Maybe, I said. And then we could choose the 25 million who have to die. It doesn't matter who they are, right? It does not matter who they are. We picked humans because you are not special. Wish I could say there are no humans who have that attitude toward Appalachia, too. I pushed past the unintentional insult. The meaning was clearly that they had picked humans as the victim because we were not seen as advanced life forms. This gave us a way out. On behalf of humanity, I said, I pledge to you that we will pay your debt for you. We will kill 25 million ants. Would this satisfy your treaty? The silence that followed lasted 2 hours. I pictured them sending a tight beam through hyperspace back home, wherever home was. I imagined bureaucrats with 8 eyes adjusting complex glasses as they pored over legal texts. I stress-ate more than a pint of ice cream. If you kill 25 million ants and send a picture, that would satisfy our treaty, Tom, they finally said. Do we have an agreement? I typed yes, and my finger hovered over the send button. I did not send it. I could not bring myself to. I was at the edge of saving millions of lives with the Abokans retreating peacefully back into space, but I could not stop myself from pushing my luck. On Earth, I said, it is customary when making a loan to be paid interest. If we are helping you pay a debt, we deserve to benefit. I broke out in another cold sweat as I waited on the reply. What had I done? Had I just killed people? What do you want? Came their answer. Money, I said. With money, we can rebuild Appalachia. We can build new bridges and schools, invest in a new clean energy economy. We can rebuild rural hospitals. Nobody should be left behind. You do not want heat ray technology? No, I said. We would use it on each other. I don't want that. We would rather have money. Money is made up, said the Abokans. It is not real. You could just as easily give it to yourself. What do you mean? Just edit the number in your bank account. You do not need us. That would work? That wouldn't cause inflation? We do it all the time. So, if you gave us money, you would just edit your bank account to cover whatever we asked for. Yes, of course. Okay, I said. Give us $700 trillion. No, that is too much. In the end, we settled on $60,000. $60,000 appeared in my bank account a few business days later. I hired Appalachian exterminators to kill 25 million ants. They were confused that I insisted on them photographing everything, but complied to the extent they were able. They were not going to take individual photos of every ant, no matter how well paid they were. I sent the picture to the Abokans via a zip in Google Drive. They replied, "Okay, Tom." That is the last anyone ever heard from @Abokan Embassy. Most of the rest of the money was spent on environmental remediation from poisoning so many ants. That had further-reaching consequences than I had anticipated. There was only a little left after that. I bought myself a nice hat. You may find my story implausible, but you do not have to believe every word of it to understand that the money existed and its consequences were real. Yes, functionally it is the same as if I somehow edited the amount of money in my bank account, but the bank and the American government would never allow me to get away with such a thing. So let's just say that is not what happened. The lesson the Abokans taught me, more important than any heat ray, is that money is made up. All it takes to spend it is to insist you have it and be believed. The Abokans may not have given us enough to fix Appalachia, but we could. Anyone skeptical is welcome to peruse my Twitter DM history, view the concrete plug in my backyard, or check out my sweet new hat.